He was my everything, until I realized I was just a pawn in his game. One love letter, one confession, and everything I believed about love shattered. But when I left, I didn't expect to meet a wolf who would claim me as his own. This isn't just love, it's obsession, betrayal, and desire. Who will I finally choose? The lecture hall buzzed with voices long before the professor arrived. I sat in the last row like I always did, pen tapping against the edge of my notebook. The back seats were quieter, safer. From here I could see him. Matthew. Even surrounded by people, he somehow looked untouchable. The kind of rich second-generation heir who never needed to try. Designer watch. Perfect hair. Calm expression that never revealed what he was thinking. Girls clustered around his desk again today. One leaned forward too far, laughing at something he said. My pen snapped. I cursed under my breath. Careful, my roommate whispered beside me. Leo nudged my shoulder with a grin. You're going to stab the desk one day if you keep glaring like that. I'm not glaring. You've been staring at Matthew for 10 minutes. I slammed my notebook shut. I was not. Leo laughed softly. You've been in love with him for 2 years, Daniel. My chest tightened. Keep your voice down. Leo raised both hands in surrender. Relax. I'm the only one who knows. He always was. Leo and I grew up in the same orphanage. Same cramped rooms. Same secondhand clothes. Same nights staring at cracked ceilings wondering if anyone would ever choose us. He knew everything about me, including the one secret I could never tell anyone else. I pulled a folded paper from my bag. Leo raised an eyebrow. You're still writing those? It helps me think. Think. He leaned closer. That's a love letter. My ears burned. Not really. Daniel. It's just words. The truth was uglier. Every time my feelings for Matthew got too heavy, I wrote them down. Letters I never planned to send. Letters that stayed hidden in my drawer. Letters no one would ever read. I unfolded the paper slowly. My handwriting looked shaky. Dear Matthew. Even writing his name made my pulse jump. Leo watched me quietly. You should give it to him one day. I laughed. Are you crazy? Why not? Because people like him don't look at people like me. Leo frowned. You don't know that. Yes, I do. Matthew was rich. Powerful. The kind of man people followed without question. And me? An orphan surviving on scholarships and part-time jobs. We lived in different worlds. I folded the letter again. Carefully. Like I always did. Across the room, Matthew laughed softly at something one of the girls said. My chest tightened. Leo sighed. You're hopeless. Probably. But I kept watching him anyway. Classes ended near sunset. Students packed their bags and rushed out. I stayed behind. The library shift started soon, but I needed to finish copying notes first. Matthew's desk sat 2 rows ahead of mine. Empty now. For a moment the room felt strangely quiet. My fingers drifted to the folded letter again. Just once. Just once I wanted to say the truth out loud, even if no one ever heard it. I stood and walked toward his desk. The air smelled faintly of his cologne. My heart pounded harder. I set the letter down for a moment while gathering my books. Then the professor called from the door. Daniel, don't forget your assignment tomorrow. Yes, sir. I grabbed my bag quickly and hurried out. The folded paper stayed behind. The next morning the classroom felt different. Louder. More excited. A group of girls gathered near Matthew's desk. They carried a small box decorated with pink ribbons. Did you bring yours? Of course. Matthew will finally have to pick one. I frowned slightly as I sat down. Leo leaned closer. Valentine's letter collection. What? Apparently every girl in class wrote him a love letter. I blinked. That's ridiculous. Not really, Leo said. It's Matthew. One of the girls walked around collecting envelopes from desks. When she reached Matthew's table, she spotted something already lying there. My letter. She picked it up without thinking and dropped it into the box. My stomach dropped. Wait. No. I stood up halfway. But the girl had already walked away. Leo noticed my face. Daniel? That letter. What letter? I stared at the box in horror. My letter. Leo froze. You mean? Yes. The one you wrote yesterday? Yes. He swore under his breath. You're kidding. The classroom doors opened. Matthew walked in. The girls immediately surrounded him. Matthew, we collected all the love letters. You have to read them. He looked amused. Do I? Yes. They pushed the box into his hands. Matthew raised an eyebrow but opened it anyway. My heart slammed violently against my ribs. Inside that box, my confession sat among dozens of others. Matthew began reading. 1 letter. 2. 3. Girls giggled around him. I couldn't breathe. Then his fingers paused. He unfolded a paper slowly. My handwriting. My words. His expression changed slightly. Something darker flickered in his eyes. My stomach twisted. Matthew looked up, and his gaze landed directly on me. The classroom suddenly felt too small, too bright, too exposed. He folded the letter carefully, then slipped it into his pocket. A faint smile curved his lips. Not warm, not kind, something calculating. My pulse turned cold. Leo whispered beside me, "Daniel." But I already knew. The moment Matthew looked at me like that, everything had begun to fall apart. I tried to avoid Matthew. It became my first instinct the moment I stepped into campus. If he walked down the main path, I took the longer road past the engineering building. If he sat in the cafeteria, I left without eating. If I heard his voice behind me, my shoulders stiffened and I kept walking. But avoiding someone like Matthew was impossible. He was everywhere. Popular people always were. 3 days passed since the love letter incident, and every hour felt like waiting for a storm to break. Leo leaned against the dorm doorframe as I tied my shoes. "You can't run forever." "I'm not running. You skipped 2 lectures because Matthew was there." "I had work." "Daniel." I grabbed my bag. "I'm late." Leo sighed. "You should just talk to him." The idea made my stomach twist. "No. You're acting like he already rejected you." "He didn't reject me," I said quietly. "Then what are you afraid of?" I didn't answer. Because the truth was worse. Matthew hadn't rejected me. He hadn't said anything at all. And that silence felt more terrifying than rejection. The afternoon drama club rehearsal filled the auditorium with chaos. Actors shouted lines on stage while the director barked instructions from the front row. I stood behind the curtains organizing props. Working backstage meant fewer people. Less attention. Safer. Or at least it usually was. "Daniel." My body froze. That voice. Calm. Smooth. Dangerous. Slowly, I turned. Matthew stood near the stage stairs. Hands in his pockets. Watching me like he had all the time in the world. The air suddenly felt heavy. "Can we talk?" he asked. My heart started pounding. "I'm busy." His eyes flicked to the empty stage area behind me. "Are you?" I forced myself to stay calm. "What do you want?" Matthew stepped closer. The scent of expensive cologne drifted toward me. I hated how my pulse reacted to it. He pulled something from his pocket. Folded paper. My letter. Every nerve in my body lit up with panic. "Is this yours?" The question sounded casual. Too casual. I shook my head instantly. "No." Matthew tilted his head slightly. "You're sure?" "Yes." "Interesting." His gaze sharpened. "Because your handwriting is on the assignment you submitted yesterday." My throat tightened. "And it looks exactly like this." "Damn." I forced myself to hold his gaze. "It's not mine." Matthew studied my face quietly. His eyes were unnervingly observant, like he could see straight through every lie. "You wrote a very sincere confession," he said softly. "I didn't write it. You described my smile." Silence. "You described the way I adjust my watch during lectures." My fingers clenched. "You even wrote about the time I helped a lost freshman find her classroom." He stepped closer. "You notice a lot about me for someone who claims the letter isn't his." My chest burned with humiliation. "I wrote it for someone else." Matthew raised an eyebrow. "Oh, yes. Who?" "That's none of your business." For a moment neither of us spoke. Then Matthew smiled. But the smile didn't reach his eyes. "All right." He folded the letter again. "I'll believe you." Relief barely had time to settle before he added. "But if it's not yours." His voice lowered slightly. "Then you won't mind proving it." A chill ran down my spine. "What do you mean?" Matthew leaned slightly closer. "Confess." My brain stalled. "What?" "Confess to the person you actually wrote it for." "I'm not doing that." "Why not?" "Because it's private." Matthew studied me again. And then, he laughed softly. "Interesting." He stepped back. "You're a terrible liar, Daniel." My chest tightened. "I told you. You're in love with me." The words landed like a punch. Anger flared instantly. "I said that letter wasn't for you." Matthew's eyes gleamed with quiet amusement. "Then prove it." "I don't need to prove anything." He shrugged lightly. "Suit yourself." Then he turned and walked away. Just like that, leaving my heart racing and my thoughts in chaos. Across campus, Matthew stepped into the private lounge used by the business club. 3 of his friends lounged on the sofas. Eric looked up first. "There you are." Matthew tossed the folded letter onto the table. His friends leaned forward instantly. "That's the one?" Eric asked. Matthew nodded. "Daniel's love letter." The room erupted with laughter. Wait, seriously? Another friend said. That quiet guy? The scholarship student? Eric smirked. That's hilarious. Matthew sat down slowly. He denied it. Of course he did. Eric picked up the letter. But this thing is practically poetry. He grinned wickedly. You should make him confess. Matthew's gaze flickered thoughtfully. Eric leaned forward. I bet you can't make him admit it. Matthew looked amused. Oh, publicly, Eric added. In front of everyone. Another friend laughed. That would be brutal. Eric raised a hand. 1 week. Matthew leaned back in his chair. And what do I get if I win? Eric smirked. Dinner's on us for a month. And if I lose? You treat us. Matthew glanced at the letter again. The careful handwriting. The painfully sincere words. Then he smiled slowly. Deal. His friends laughed loudly. Eric shook his head. That poor guy has no idea what's coming. Matthew folded the letter again and slipped it into his pocket. His expression turned thoughtful. Actually, Eric raised an eyebrow. What? Matthew's gaze drifted toward the window, toward the direction of the auditorium. He's more interesting than I expected. Eric grinned. Don't tell me you feel bad. Matthew smirked faintly. Not at all. But deep down, something about Daniel's stubborn denial lingered in his mind. And Matthew decided one thing. He would make Daniel confess, even if he had to push him to the edge to do it. The rumors started quietly. Then they spread like wildfire. I noticed the whispers first. 2 girls by the vending machines glanced at me and giggled. A group of boys near the stairs stopped talking the moment I walked past. Something was wrong. Very wrong. I shoved my hands into my pockets and kept walking toward the auditorium for rehearsal. Daniel. Leo jogged up beside me. His expression looked uneasy. You heard the rumors yet? My stomach tightened. What rumors? Leo hesitated. That you're chasing Matthew. My footsteps stopped. What? Someone said you've been writing him love letters. Cold dread slid down my spine. That's not true. I know, Leo said quickly. But people are talking. Anger simmered beneath my skin. Matthew. He must have told someone. My fists clenched. Forget it, I muttered. People gossip. Leo frowned. You should confront him. No. Daniel. I said no. I pushed open the auditorium doors. The rehearsal hall buzzed with activity. Actors ran lines on stage while stage lights flickered overhead. I moved backstage quickly, focusing on my work. If I stayed busy, maybe the whispers would fade. But fate clearly had other plans. Because 20 minutes later, Matthew walked in. The entire room shifted. People noticed him instantly. Girls straightened their posture. Guys greeted him like he was some celebrity. He barely acknowledged them. His gaze moved slowly across the room. Then stopped on me. My pulse spiked. Leo leaned closer. He's definitely here for you. Stop talking. Matthew walked toward the stage. Every step felt deliberate. Every movement calm and controlled. He stopped a few feet away from me. Daniel. I didn't look at him. I'm working. I won't take long. I grabbed a prop box and moved past him. But Matthew reached out suddenly. His fingers closed around my wrist. Not painfully, just firmly enough to stop me. My breath caught. Let go. We need to talk. I have nothing to say to you. Matthew's grip tightened slightly. You're still denying the letter? My chest burned. Yes. Several students nearby started watching. The attention made my skin crawl. Matthew noticed it too. And for some reason, he smiled. You're stubborn. Let go. Not until you answer one question. I glared at him. What? Matthew leaned closer. His voice dropped low enough that only I could hear. Why are you so afraid to admit you like me? Heat rushed to my face. I don't like you. His eyes flickered. Then prove it. Stop saying that. Why? He asked calmly. Because you know the truth. I yanked my wrist free. You're full of yourself. A few nearby students gasped softly. No one talked to Matthew like that. But I didn't care anymore. Matthew studied my face. Slowly. Carefully. Then he turned toward the stage. Everyone. The word carried across the auditorium. The chatter died instantly. Students looked over curiously. My stomach dropped. What was he doing? Matthew stepped onto the stage. Then he looked down at me. Daniel has something he wants to say. A wave of confusion spread through the room. My chest tightened. I do not. Matthew tilted his head slightly. Are you sure? Yes. He reached into his pocket and pulled out the letter. My vision blurred for a second. No. No, no, no. Matthew held the paper up. I found this on my desk last week. The room buzzed with interest. Some students leaned forward eagerly. This letter, Matthew continued calmly, is a confession. My throat closed. And according to Daniel, he looked directly at me. It wasn't written for me. A few people laughed. Heat crawled up my neck. Matthew folded the paper slowly. So today, he said, Daniel will prove that. My heart pounded violently. I never agreed to that. Matthew's voice remained calm. You don't have to. Then stop talking. He ignored me. If this letter isn't meant for me, he gestured toward the stage, then Daniel can simply confess to the person it was meant for. The room erupted with whispers. Students began crowding closer. Phones appeared. Someone whispered loudly, "Wait, Daniel likes someone." Panic surged through me. Matthew, stop. But he kept watching me. Patient. Calculating. Like a hunter waiting for prey to break. My chest rose and fell rapidly. You're humiliating me. His expression flickered slightly. But he didn't step back. Then end it. How? Confess. The word hit like a blade. My hands trembled. The entire auditorium watched. Expectant. Hungry for drama. Leo stood near the back. His face pale with worry. Matthew's voice softened. Go ahead. Silence stretched painfully. My mind spun. If I stayed quiet, people would assume the worst. They would believe every rumor. Every lie. But if I spoke, the truth would destroy me anyway. My chest burned. My throat tightened. And suddenly, I was tired. So tired of hiding. My hands slowly clenched. Fine. If Matthew wanted the truth so badly, then he could hear it. I stepped forward. The auditorium fell silent. Matthew watched me carefully. I took a deep breath. Then I looked directly at him. My voice came out rough but steady. Yes. Whispers rippled through the room. I wrote that letter. Matthew's eyes flashed with victory. But I wasn't finished. I wrote it because. My chest tightened painfully. Because I like someone. Students leaned closer. Waiting. My gaze stayed locked on Matthew. I like someone who smiled like the sun. A few girls gasped. I liked someone who helped strangers without expecting praise. Matthew's expression slowly shifted. I liked someone who looked perfect from far away. The room held its breath. But I was wrong. My voice hardened. Because that person, I laughed bitterly, turned out to be cruel. Matthew's smile disappeared. I did like you, I said quietly. Shock exploded across the room. But not anymore. Silence fell like a blade. Matthew stared at me. For the first time, his calm mask cracked. And somewhere in the crowd, someone whispered the words that shattered everything. Wait, wasn't this Matthew's bet? My heart dropped. I turned slowly. Eric stood near the back. His friends looked frozen. One of them muttered under his breath. Dude, you weren't supposed to say that. The auditorium erupted. My ears rang. Bet. The word echoed inside my skull. I turned back to Matthew. My chest hollowed out. A bet. His silence answered everything. Something inside me snapped. And suddenly, I wasn't just hurt anymore. I was furious. A bet. The word tasted like poison in my mouth. The auditorium buzzed with whispers, but I barely heard them. My eyes stayed locked on Matthew. He didn't answer. Didn't deny it. Didn't even look surprised that the truth had come out. That silence said everything. Something inside my chest cracked open. So this was all a joke to you? My voice sounded hoarse even to my own ears. Matthew stepped down from the stage slowly. His expression had lost that amused calm he always wore. Daniel, don't. My hands were shaking now. You knew, I continued, my voice rising. You knew that letter was mine. He didn't answer. You knew how I felt. Still silence. And you still turned it into a game. Murmurs spread through the crowd. Some students looked uncomfortable. Others watched eagerly, like this was the most entertaining thing they'd seen all week. Leo pushed through the crowd toward me. Daniel, he whispered urgently, grabbing my arm. Let's go. But I couldn't move. My entire body burned with humiliation. Every word I had confessed just minutes ago replayed in my head. Everyone had heard it. Everyone knew now. And the person I had loved had been laughing about it with his friends. I looked back at Matthew. How long? He frowned slightly. What? How long have you been playing this game? It wasn't like that. Answer the question. His jaw tightened. A week. The number slammed into me like a punch. 7 days. 7 days of watching me panic. 7 days of pushing me closer to humiliation. 7 days of pretending to be curious. I laughed bitterly. Wow. Matthew stepped closer. I didn't expect it to go this far. Really, I thought you'd admit it earlier. That did it. The anger exploded. My fist moved before I even realized it. Crack. Gasps erupted across the auditorium as Matthew's head snapped to the side. Pain shot through my knuckles. But it felt good. For the first time since this nightmare started, I could breathe. Matthew staggered slightly, touching his lip. Blood smeared across his fingers. The entire room went silent. No one moved. No one spoke. Because no one had ever seen someone punch Matthew before. Leo grabbed my shoulder. Daniel, stop. But I stepped forward again. My chest heaved with rage. You humiliated me in front of everyone. Matthew slowly looked back at me. His expression had changed. Gone was the calm. Gone was the smug confidence. Now there was only shock. You used my feelings for entertainment. He didn't argue. Didn't defend himself. That made it worse. My voice trembled with fury. You think because you're rich, because everyone worships you, you can just play with people's hearts. Matthew finally spoke. I didn't think you'd get hurt this badly. A stunned laugh burst out of me. You didn't think? My fists clenched again. Of course you didn't. Because people like him never had to think about consequences. They never had to worry about being humiliated. They never had to worry about being the joke. My voice dropped low. You're disgusting. Matthew flinched slightly. That tiny reaction only fueled my anger further. I shoved him hard. He stumbled back a step. Gasps echoed around us again. Daniel. Leo tried to pull me away. But I shook him off. You want a confession? I shouted. Fine. I pointed straight at Matthew. Yes, I liked you. The room held its breath. I liked the way you smiled. I liked how you acted like you cared about people. I liked the illusion that you weren't just another arrogant rich guy. My throat tightened painfully. But now I know the truth. Matthew's eyes darkened. You're just a coward who needs to hurt people to entertain himself. Silence filled the auditorium. Every student watched the confrontation unfold. I took a step back. My anger slowly cooled into something colder. Something emptier. We're done. I turned away. Leo followed immediately. Behind me, no one said a word. Not even Matthew. The rumors spread across campus within hours. By the next morning, everyone knew. Students whispered as I walked through the hallways. Some laughed. Others stared with open disgust. That's the guy who confessed to Matthew. He punched him too. Isn't he gay? That's creepy. Didn't he write a love letter? Each comment stabbed deeper than the last. I kept my head down. Just get through the day. Just survive until graduation. But the universe wasn't done humiliating me yet. When I reached my locker, someone had taped a piece of paper to it. A crude drawing. 2 stick figures kissing. Underneath it, someone had written, Love Letter Boy. Laughter erupted from a group of students nearby. My chest tightened. I ripped the paper down. Another voice called out mockingly, Hey Daniel, write me a love letter too. More laughter followed. Leo grabbed my arm. Ignore them. But ignoring it didn't stop the whispers. Or the disgusted looks. Or the constant reminder that everyone now knew my secret. By afternoon, I couldn't take it anymore. I skipped my last class and returned to the dorm. Leo found me stuffing clothes into my bag. Daniel, what are you doing? I'm leaving. His face paled. What? I requested a transfer this morning. You can't be serious. I am. Because of those idiots? Because I can't stay here. Leo ran a hand through his hair. You worked so hard to get into this university. And now everyone sees me as a joke. That'll pass. No, it won't. Silence filled the small dorm room. Finally, Leo sighed heavily. Where will you go? A university in another city accepted my transfer. He looked defeated. When? Tomorrow. Leo stared at me for a long moment. Then he pulled me into a tight hug. You better call me. I laughed weakly. Of course. But deep down, I felt like I was running away. Running from humiliation. Running from heartbreak. Running from the person who had shattered everything. The next morning, I walked across campus one last time. The autumn wind felt colder than usual. Students still whispered as I passed. But this time, I didn't care. Because in a few hours, I would be gone. I didn't notice the black car parked across the street. Or the man standing beside it, watching me leave. Matthew's knuckles whitened around the car door. His friend Eric spoke nervously. You didn't think he'd actually leave, right? Matthew didn't answer. His gaze stayed fixed on my retreating figure. Something twisted painfully in his chest. For the first time, the game didn't feel like a victory. It felt like a mistake. A huge one. But by the time he realized that, I was already walking away. And this time, I wasn't coming back. The new city smelled different. Cleaner. Quieter. Or maybe it just felt that way because no one here knew me. No whispers. No mocking laughter. No one calling me Love Letter Boy. I walked across the unfamiliar university campus with my hands buried in my jacket pockets. New buildings. New faces. New life. At least that was the plan. But scars didn't disappear just because you changed locations. They followed you. Inside your chest. Inside your head. I pushed those thoughts away and focused on the campus map in my phone. Dormitory, library, lecture hall. Everything looked bigger than my old university. Richer too. Great, I thought dryly. Another playground for rich kids. I exhaled slowly and turned toward the street outside the campus gate. That's when I heard shouting. Hey, stop. Give it back. A girl's frightened voice echoed down the alley beside a convenience store. My head snapped toward the sound. 3 guys stood in the narrow alley. College age. Bigger than the girl standing in front of them. She looked barely 18. One of them held her backpack while the others laughed. Relax, one boy said mockingly. We're just checking your stuff. Please give it back, the girl said, her voice trembling. Something cold tightened in my chest. I stepped into the alley. That's enough. All 4 of them looked at me. The guy holding the bag scoffed. And who the hell are you? Someone who's telling you to leave. The boys laughed. Mind your business. I walked closer. My shoulders relaxed slightly. You're 3 guys harassing a girl. That's not harassment. Then you won't mind if I call the campus security office. The smile disappeared from one boy's face. Don't be annoying. I held out my hand calmly. Give her bag back. The tallest guy stepped forward. You think you're tough? I didn't answer. The tension in the air snapped like a wire. He swung first. Big mistake. I stepped aside. His punch missed completely. My fist drove into his stomach before he realized what happened. Air exploded out of him as he folded forward. The other 2 rushed me at once. The fight lasted less than 30 seconds. When it ended, one boy groaned on the ground. The other 2 dragged him away while swearing loudly. Crazy bastard. Let's go. Their footsteps disappeared down the street. Silence returned. I flexed my sore fingers, then turned toward the girl. She stared at me with wide eyes. Are you okay? I asked. She nodded slowly. Yes. I picked up her fallen backpack and handed it to her. You should be more careful walking alone. She didn't take the bag immediately. Instead, she looked at me strangely, like she was studying me. Then suddenly, her face lit up. You're amazing. I blinked. What? You beat them so easily. That's not really something to celebrate. She grabbed her bag and bounced excitedly. What's your name? Daniel. I'm Lily. She smiled brightly. Nice to meet you. I nodded awkwardly. All right. I started to leave. But Lily followed immediately. Wait. I turned. What? She clasped her hands together dramatically. You're definitely my brother-in-law. My brain stopped working for a second. What? Lily nodded confidently. Yes. I think you're mistaken. Nope. She pointed at me like she'd made a brilliant discovery. You're exactly my brother's type. I rubbed my forehead. I don't even know your brother. You will. She looked extremely pleased with herself. He's going to love you. I stared at her in disbelief. You're matchmaking a stranger who just stopped a robbery. Not robbery, she corrected cheerfully. Bullying. That's not better. She waved it off. Anyway, my brother is amazing. I'm sure he is. He's rich. That doesn't impress me. He's handsome. I sighed. I'm not interested. She tilted her head. You're gay, right? I froze. How do you know that? She grinned. I just do. Great. Apparently my trauma had turned into a personality trait people could detect. Look, I said calmly. I appreciate your enthusiasm, but I'm not dating anyone. Why? Because I'm not interested. Or because someone broke your heart? Her words hit too close to the truth. I looked away. That's none of your business. Lily studied my expression. For the first time, she looked slightly serious. Then my brother will fix that. I laughed. That's not how people work. She shrugged. You'll see. Then she waved cheerfully. Bye, brother-in-law. And just like that, she skipped down the street, leaving me standing there in complete confusion. Across campus, inside a sleek black car, a man watched the security camera footage playing on a tablet. The video showed the alley fight, showed Daniel stepping in, showed him dropping 3 guys without hesitation. The man leaned back slowly. His dark eyes narrowed. Interesting. Nathan. He replayed the moment where Daniel handed Lily the backpack. Then the moment Lily started talking excitedly. A slow smile spread across his face. My little sister found something amusing. The driver glanced at him nervously. Should we intervene? Nathan shook his head. No. His gaze stayed fixed on the screen. On Daniel's calm expression. On the quiet strength in the way he moved. A strange spark flickered inside Nathan's chest. Possessive. Curious. Hungry. Not yet. He closed the tablet. Let's meet him properly. Later that evening, I walked into the campus cafe to buy coffee. The place buzzed with quiet conversations and soft music. I ordered a drink and turned, and nearly walked straight into someone. A tall man stood directly behind me. Broad shoulders, dark hair, sharp features. His presence filled the entire space around him. His eyes locked onto mine instantly. Intense. Predatory. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then he smiled, but the smile looked more like a wolf baring its teeth. Daniel. My stomach tightened. Do I know you? No. His voice was low and calm. But I know you. Something about him felt dangerous, like standing too close to a storm. He extended his hand. I'm Nathan. I hesitated before shaking it. The moment our hands touched, his fingers tightened slightly. Not painful, just firm, like he had no intention of letting go easily. Nathan's gaze never left my face, and something dark flickered behind his eyes. Interest. Possession. Obsession. Nice to finally meet you, he said softly. My instincts screamed a warning, but I couldn't explain why. Because the truth was, I had no idea yet that the man standing in front of me would soon turn my entire world upside down. And unlike Matthew, Nathan wasn't playing games. When he decided he wanted something, he took it. The first few weeks in the new city were strange. Quiet. Safe. But safe had a way of feeling hollow when your heart was still bruised. Nathan never left my side after that first meeting. Not in the literal sense. He wasn't a shadow stalking me, but his presence was always there, a quiet gravity I couldn't ignore. He appeared at the library, in the dorm hallway, even in the courtyard when I thought I was alone. Every encounter was deliberate, calculated, but never forced. Stop looking so serious, he said one afternoon, leaning against the railing of the terrace where I was studying. His dark hair caught the sunlight, and his sharp eyes scanned me like he was memorizing my every line and curve. You look like you've been running from the world your entire life. I didn't answer immediately. I had no words for someone who seemed to see straight into the parts of me I buried. You're tense, Nathan continued softly, almost teasingly. I don't bite, unless provoked. I finally met his gaze, trying not to let my pulse betray me. Some people do, I said. A small smile curved his lips. Not me. Not with you. There it was, the first time he said it outright. Not with you. As if every other person might fear him, but I, Daniel, was safe. It didn't take long for me to see the way Nathan handled the world. Calm, decisive, a wolf in a crowd of sheep. He could intimidate anyone with a glance, a tilt of his head, a silence that screamed warning. But with me it was different. Tender. Patient. Protective. One evening, after the library had emptied, he walked me back to my dorm. Why are you always with me? I asked, half teasing, half desperate to understand. Because you're mine, he said simply. The words should have made me panic. And part of me did. But the way he said it, there was no cruelty, no possessive threat. Just certainty. Mine, I repeated, a laugh escaping me despite myself. Yes, he said. And I plan to make sure you know it. That you feel it. That you trust it. I swallowed hard. I don't trust easily. His expression softened. He lifted my chin with a finger, forcing my eyes to meet his. I know. I'll wait. But I'm patient, Daniel. You won't even notice how it happens until you realize it already has. And somehow I believed him. Weeks turned into months. Nathan never pushed me beyond what I could bear. Yet every moment with him chipped away at the walls I had built around my heart. The quiet dinners, the walks along the campus river, the gentle way he brushed a strand of hair from my face. All of it made me dizzy with longing and safety. Until the day Matthew appeared. I spotted him first across the campus square, his usual confident stride, eyes scanning, searching for me. My stomach knotted. Nathan sensed it immediately. He didn't grip my arm, didn't pull me back. But the way he stood, broad, alert, and protective, was enough to make me feel both safe and pinned. Matthew froze when he saw me. And then fury. So you're here, he said, voice low, controlled, but with an edge that sent shivers down my spine. I clenched my fists, shaking with the memory of the past, but Nathan's hand found mine, calm, grounding, confident. Yes, I said, finally steadying my voice. I'm here, and I'm not yours anymore. Matthew's eyes flickered toward Nathan. His gaze sharpened, and I saw the calculation form. He wanted me back. He wanted to manipulate, to lure me again. But Nathan's presence was a wall I hadn't expected, and Matthew realized it immediately. You, Matthew hissed. Who is he? Nathan smiled faintly, almost cruelly. The man you can't have. The world seemed to narrow down to three of us. Matthew's jealousy burned bright, sharp, but Nathan didn't flinch. He simply stepped closer to me, placing his hand lightly on my lower back, a claim without words, without force. Daniel, Nathan said, voice low, intimate, dangerous in a way that made my heart jump. Look at me. Only me. I did. And in that moment, everything Matthew had been to me, the pain, the betrayal, the humiliation, faded behind a wall of trust one never thought I could feel again. Matthew's expression twisted, a mix of anger, obsession, and defeat. He opened his mouth, but Nathan's hand brushed against my cheek, firm, possessive. Stay, Nathan said softly. Right here. With me. And I did. I had never felt this safe with anyone. Nathan's apartment smelled faintly of cedar and leather, strong, clean grounding. The city lights spilled through the windows, bathing the room in gold. Every instinct in me screamed caution, yet every nerve ached to let go. He watched me from the couch, that wolfish intensity softened by a tenderness that only I had ever seen. His eyes burned into mine, patient and calculating, daring me to let down the walls I'd built so carefully. Daniel, he murmured, stepping closer, his hand brushing mine. The touch was light, almost casual, but it carried the weight of a claim. Do you trust me? I nodded, though my voice trembled. I think I do. That was enough. He closed the distance, fingers sliding under my chin, tilting my head to his. The first kiss was slow, exploratory. Gentle. Testing. His lips moved against mine like a promise, soft and insistent, claiming me without force. I shivered. My hands instinctively found the curve of his shoulders, tracing him, memorizing him. Nathan's other hand slipped around my waist, pulling me flush against him. My chest pressed against his, the warmth of him igniting a fire I didn't even know I was holding back. Every touch was deliberate, teasing, patient, but every brush of skin sent shivers of desire coursing through me. Relax, he whispered, his breath warm against my ear. I'm not going anywhere. I closed my eyes, letting myself fall against him, against the steady strength of his chest. He was dangerous to everyone else, but to me, he was home. Every sigh, every brush of fingers across my back, was a reminder that I was seen, that I was wanted, that I was safe. His lips trailed down my jaw, lingering on my throat, not rushing, savoring the way I trembled beneath his touch. I leaned into him instinctively, my hands clutching his shirt as if letting go would break me. God, Daniel, he murmured. His hands roamed carefully over me, mapping the tension coiled in my body, unraveling it. I've wanted you like this for weeks. You don't even know how much. I bit my lip, shivering. The words made something inside me collapse, a mix of longing, relief, and need. Every wall I'd built around my heart seemed to melt under the weight of him. Our kisses grew deeper, more urgent, and yet he never rushed me. Every touch, every whisper, every brush of his fingertips against my skin was permission to feel. Permission to surrender. My hands tangled in his hair as he pressed me closer, and I felt the steady heat of him, not demanding, only claiming. Yours, he whispered against my lips. Only yours. And it was true. In that moment, I believed it. I knew it. I didn't have to fight anymore. I let go completely, melting against him, the tension of months, the humiliation, the betrayal, the fear, dissolving in the warmth of his arms. We moved together slowly, deliberately, exploring the edges of each other. Every brush of skin, every soft murmur, every feather-like kiss built a rhythm of trust and need. His hands never forced, but guided. His voice never commanded, but reassured. I shivered at the faintest touch, the subtle teasing of fingertips over my arms and chest, and it was enough to make me ache for more. Hours passed unnoticed. The city outside faded away. Only him. Only the press of his body, the warmth of his hands, the certainty in his gaze. My body responded in ways I hadn't allowed in years. Every shiver, every breath, every quickening heartbeat under his touch. And when he finally held me in his arms afterward, resting my head against his chest, I felt complete. Safe. Desired. Loved. The wolf everyone else feared had been a puppy for me all along, patient and gentle, possessing and tender in a way I had never imagined. I closed my eyes, listening to the steady beat of his heart, and finally allowed myself to surrender entirely. I was his. Only his. And for the first time in my life, it was enough. A week later, Matthew watched from afar as Nathan and I walked through the campus together. His expression burned with jealousy, frustration, obsession. But I didn't flinch. I didn't hesitate. Nathan's hand found mine again, fingers interlacing, his thumb brushing over the back of my hand possessively. His wolfish grin appeared, but only I saw the warmth underneath, the puppy he was for me alone. Matthew realized then what he had lost forever. And I finally understood. I was home. With Nathan. Safe. Desired. Loved. And Matthew? He had nothing. Not a second chance. Not my forgiveness. Not me. Because this time I was mine too.